What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video on the Hooked on SuperCoach channel. I'm your host, Jacob Fisher, J Fish, and welcome back to another EPL SuperCoach video. In today's video, we will be discussing Gameweek 24 and reviewing Gameweek 23. Without further ado, let's get stuck into today's video. Before I kick off though, I just want to shout out to subscribe. You listening right now, yes you, subscribe down below. It's free, doesn't cost you guys anything, and it really helps grow the channel. Speaking of growing the channel, we have started on Twitter or X, whatever you guys prefer to call it. I've started posting a bit of preseason NRL SuperCoach content there for you guys, so give the shout out to the Twitter there, Hooked on SuperCoach, just Hooked on SC, and then vice versa. If you're watching from Twitter, come over and give the YouTube a subscribe and follow there. But we aren't talking about NRL in this video. The NRL preseason vids will be coming up shortly, just focusing on EPL SuperCoach at the moment, and then also some graphics, and then on the weekend, once I get some time, I'll try and get some NRL SuperCoach preseason content out for you legends. So, as you can see there on the screen, season rank of 61. Hoodles, baby. Going alright, hey. Going alright. I think this is my highest rank I've been all year so far in SuperCoach, and I actually traded last week, so a bit of last minute chaos in EPL SuperCoach. Again, one of the reasons I do prefer the rolling lockout sort of style over FPL, where it's kind of game week locked. Harlan was benched, Foden was benched, Palmer was benched. It was just utter chaos, and so I ended up trading and I ended up boosting. I used my second boost so far all season, and yeah, wow, it worked out pretty well. I reckon you can say worked out pretty well there. So we're now sitting at 10 trades left overall, so 15 game weeks to go. It's going to be a tight run in, especially with a couple doubles and blanks approaching, but I'm sure we will navigate it all successfully because we are planning ahead, looking forward to try and hold that rank and try and maybe get top 50, top 20, top 10. I know the bloke in first, I was actually, shout out to him actually, we'll have a quick look at him before we start the video. I was chatting to him all weekend in the Discord chat, and yeah, he decided to hold Ekatike, Harlan and Foden, whereas I kind of was the opposite. I basically traded all of them. Obviously I didn't trade Harlan, but yeah, he ended up benching them and still pulled it out with a Bowen VC. So also another shout out to the last video. In the last video we had a commenter there, I'll just pull it up now, but he was giving me a bit of grief for Jared Bowen, and I'm pretty sure I replied and said, mate, all good, we'll give him a bit of time. And what does he go and do? Scores 23 points on the weekend, so he absolutely killed it. And yeah, I've just pulled it up now. Shout out to Lachlan, he's 68th overall as well, so good to see some of the viewers also doing well for the EPL SuperCoach. But yeah, he said Bowen was a sell, West Ham suck, and have the funds for Enzo or Garner. So hopefully, Lachlan, you held those trades. And you also held Szoboszlai. You made a good point there. You said, I think Szoboszlai is closer to a buy than a sell. And as we saw on the weekend, he did do pretty well there. So, let's have a look how we lined up and what we did. So, as I mentioned there at the start, I did end up boosting. And we boosted pretty well. I'm pretty happy with the results, honestly. So the first trade was Foden out. We got that news pretty early, and I had the funds for Enzo Fernandez there. So Foden to Enzo, pretty easy trade. As soon as we got that Man City lineup, Foden was benched, Harlan was benched as well. I was very happy to move Foden on there for Enzo Fernandez. Then this one it started spicing up. Obviously, a couple of those players benched. Semenyo and Gawehi both started, and it was a pretty tasty fixture against Wolves for Man City there. And so, what do I decide to do? I decide to boost, as I said, use my second boost so far this season, and sell Ekitike and Van Dijk, both the Liverpool boys. Part of it to do was I was still up at the time, and so I wanted to watch the City game, and I wasn't going to make the Liverpool game. But I also was pretty sick of them from a Supercoach standpoint. Van Dijk hasn't done much at all this year, and Ekitike has been probably the most frustrating player I've had all year in Supercoach, and ended up boosting it out. Obviously, Ekitike ended up getting benched, and so that trade kind of worked out perfectly. However, Van Dijk did end up scoring off a corner and ended up getting 16 points, I believe it was. So yeah, you win some, you lose some. Yeah, 16 points. But I cannot complain. All in all, pretty good. Pretty happy with those trades, and moving forward, I am happy with them. So let's have a look at what went well last week to get the triple-digit 100 score. So, we'll start at the top here, VC Semenyo. So, I mentioned I brought him in. I also vice-captained him, and I reckon he could have had 2 more goals very easily. He had a beautiful ball played in from behind from Gawahi. And man, if Semenyo just scored that goal, that would have been so many points. Would have been the Gawahi assist, Semenyo goal. But wasn't to be. It was a good save from the keeper there. And then Semenyo also rattled the post in like the 80th, around near the end of the game there, and I was like, oh man, could have been on, but still 13 points, I'll take it. At the time, everyone was saying like, oh, captain an Arsenal defender, or captain Declan Rice, or what have you. However, after missing Bowen, I kind of just was happy to lock in the points from Semenyo there, and so that's the way I ended up going, captaining Whiteworth, so just my loop, and worked out well, meant I didn't get raised 2 points this week, or -2 I should say, didn't get subbed on. Into defence, Munoz, he returns, and I got the news late that Palmer wasn't going to be starting, and so I had a decision to make. So I benched Palmer, and I had to play one of my defenders, and it was between Dorgu and Munoz. So had I gone Dorgu, it would have been a 14-point swing, and I would have been possibly in the top 50. But I ended up going Munoz because my logic at the time was Munoz, I know they both got attacking threat, but no one pretty much owns, or no one will actually play him this week, so he'll be an ultra pod. And the matchup against Chelsea I thought wasn't obviously the best. I think Palace's defence isn't great, but I thought from an attacking standpoint maybe he could get something, but wasn't to be, did pretty much nothing. And yeah, bench Dorgu, who got 14 points, an absolutely brilliant goal from him against Arsenal in that match. And also Arsenal are going to bottle the league. They are going to bottle the league. They've lost, I think they've drawn one and lost one, but it's now a 4-point gap between City and Arsenal, and Arsenal always bottle the league, and so I'm going to have a bit of a bet on City at 4s to win the EPL title this year. I think there's some good value there. I think Arsenal are like $1.40, and yeah, City are 4s. Well, were 4s. So I reckon get on that if you're a punter, because Arsenal just tend to always manage to choke it. But yes, speaking of choking it, Gabriel and Timber scored me 0 points this week combined. Timber -1 and Gabriel 1 point there. Just wasn't to be. United had 3 shots on target all game, but they scored, and Arsenal didn't look that attacking. Look, guys, like they're the best defenders in SuperCoach. Hold them very easily, and look to play them with confidence pretty easily moving forward. The last defender there, Gawahi, 13 points, clean sheet, and he looked really good in defence there for City. He looked like he'd played like 200 games, and yeah, trust me, that ball from him to Semenyo there, I thought could have been on. It would have been so many points. It would have been the perfect way to start the game week, because I think it was like in the 10th minute or 15th minute, so got me excited for at least. I've got the vision. I see him. He is cooking. Bruno Fernandes in midfield got that assist, and yeah, he is going to be the highest point scorer this year in midfield, no doubt. But at this rate with Haaland, could be in all of SuperCoach. As I said, Bruno in the 10, kind of you can see it from a neutral's perspective kind of towards United for years that Bruno is a 10 and they really lose him when he plays that centre mid CDM role because he's just so attacking. And as we've seen with Arsenal, they've looked, not with Arsenal, with United, they've looked so much better with Bruno playing in that 10 role. And so I absolutely think he'll hold that for the rest of the season. I think he's a captain option pretty much every single week. This week might even be my captain, but we'll get into that later. Declan Rice, 5 points. Yeah, as I mentioned, Arsenal kind of didn't have a good game at all. Declan Rice just last week scored 16 points in base in a 0-0 game, so nothing to panic about. Don't worry there, just a down game for him. But it worked out because a lot of people captained him and I didn't. I advised Semenyo, so it actually worked out well for me there. Enzo Fernandez, 15, the trade in, got the penalty. Obviously was on penalties without Palmer, but yeah, look, just happy to lock Enzo in. Not quite sure what's happening with Palmer. Just hasn't been playing. He did come on, so I'm recording this Thursday night, so after all the Champions League games this morning, he did come on at half-time and play 45 for Chelsea this morning, and so you'd hope he starts this weekend, especially with a tasty fixture of West Ham at home. Surely he wants to get out of there and play, especially after he's trademarked his initials, Cole Palmer, in the shape of the cold. So shout out to Cole Palmer, my boy there. So yeah, that's kind of the week that was. Obviously Jared Bowen, a goal and an assist. He's also now on penalties for West Ham. We're not quite sure what's happening with Paqueta, but that all but increases Jared Bowen's stonks. So look, I think he's a very interesting option now, isn't he? Especially at the price. But yes, that kind of was the week that was. As I said there, 100 points, which saw us on a nice little green arrow. I don't even need to go home anymore. We can just access it easily from the rankings there. But yes, sitting in an overall position now, overall of 61, I am pretty sure. Yep, 61. And so yeah, if I'd played Dorgu, which would have been 14 extra points, where would I be placed? 31. I'd be placed 50th exactly. So there you go. If I just played Dorgu, I'm kicking myself. I played him last weekend, but not the weekend that was. So very annoyed with that. Could have been top 50, but that's alright. Top 61, and we're on the charge up. Let's keep the momentum going. So let's have a look at, well, first of all, shout out to the league. If you're watching the potty, don't forget to join the league, 700950. We see Huss, good to see everyone's getting in their SuperCoach trades, a few green dots, especially from Hussy Boy. And so yeah, as I said, mentioned sort of those players, but got really saved with Bowen VC, and it absolutely carried his game week there, but shout out to him. Your vice captain, Bowen, and I was talking to him, he was very keen to vice captain him after the Sunderland team came out without Xhaka. And it worked out. It worked out very well for him. So shout out to you there, mate. But yes, let's have a look at who the players are buying and selling this week in the top 10 most brought in and most sold. So kicking us off this week for the top 10 most sold. Number 1, Phil Foden, and completely agree. The one point I could have for holding is that at least with SuperCoach, you get the lineups out before the teams are released. So if he's benched like he's on the weekend, you can just bench him, and then for the games he starts, you can just play him. However, he's really looked to have fallen off his form. I don't know if he's tired or he's just lacking or he needs a rest or what's quite happening with Phil Foden. But yeah, look, everything's dried up for him. I sold him. I think you can sell him. Who to go to, we'll get to shortly. But yeah, look, I think you can sell him pretty comfortably. But as I mentioned there, you can easily hold him if you've got little trades. So yes, a decision there for you all. Number 2, Ekitike. I think he should be the number 1 most old. I would definitely be selling Ekitike over Foden, especially in the position in the forward line. However, same point goes for Ekitike that goes for Foden. If you see the team list and see that Ekitike is benched, you can simply just sell him, or bench him, and then just play someone else. So again, if you're low on trades, you can hold these players, but for me, I think both of them are sells. I've become quite frustrated with both of them. And so, yeah, I completely understand the logic behind them. Number 3, Dorgu. He should probably be number 1. He has been ruled out for 10 weeks. He's unfortunately pulled his hamstring there. So, an owner like myself, it hurts, but he's over doubled his cash. We've got a bunch of points from him and a bunch of cash. Could have been so much better if I just played him on the weekend, but wasn't to be. And so, yeah, you got to sell him now. He's out for 10 weeks. Who to buy, that I'm not quite sure on, and so we can assess that in the trade-ins. But yeah, Storgu, absolutely sell. Bruno Guimaraes, I would hold. If you didn't sell on the weekend, wasn't named in the squad. However, was in the squad for Newcastle this morning, and looks to be, he should be playing this weekend, and especially against Liverpool. Look, I don't back this being a great game for him. However, I just think he's a good option to have in midfield just with his base stats. So, yeah, I don't think I would be selling him. He's at 14k, so the money is there. He's made all his money. He's only going down sort of from that price. However, I think he can very well hold. I definitely wouldn't be selling Bruno if I held. Number 5, same goes for Cole Palmer. Again, get the benching on the weekend is frustrating. Wasn't even in the squad. However, was in the squad and came on in the 45th this morning against Inter. So, look, just hold him. Great fixtures coming up. These are the sort of 4 fixtures you want to target for your Chelsea players. They've got West Ham, Wolves, Leeds and Burnley. So, from a 4 fixture set, that's about as good as it comes. So, definitely wouldn't be selling any of your Chelsea players there. Number 6, Thiago. They do have a tough draw coming up. However, I think he's more of a hold compared to Ekitike Foden. You can just lock him into your team for the year. Play him in the good fixtures, bench him in the bad ones. He's their top talisman. He's the second leading goal scorer behind Haaland. Yeah, I just don't get that sell at all there. Talk about not getting sells. Number 7, Erling Haaland. Don't sell him. Absolutely do not sell him. But he's under 10 million now. I think that's the first time all year we've seen his price drop below 10 million. Let me just fact check that. Yeah, ball knowledge. He's under 10 million. He's 9 million. He could be 8 million. But don't sell him, guys. He's the best in the league. He has been out of form, but he's also been playing so many games. So, with the games coming thick and fast, I don't know if it'll stop, but hopefully he can return to form. And they've got some decent fixtures coming up. They've obviously got Spurs this weekend, Liverpool a bit harder, but then Fulham, Newcastle, Leeds, Forest, West Ham, Palace. So, sort of a mixed bag moving forward. But no, definitely wouldn't be selling him. Number 8, Timber. It's the same again. Would not be selling him, as would not be selling Haaland or Thiago. These guys are keepers. I don't know why you're selling him. Unless you've got 46 trades or 40 trades or whatever, definitely would not be selling them. And yeah, I think if you've got over 10, you can easily sell your Fodens, your Ekatikes. Anything under that, I'd be a bit wary. But yeah, Ego, Thiago, Haaland, Timber, definitely do not sell. Xhaka, you can hold. I like him. He's a bit of a pod pick. If you still have him, I think just keep him. I think he's served the season pretty well. He's got good base stats. Also has the old attacking threat here and there. However, don't know how long he's out for. So if he's out for a couple of weeks, get the sell. However, if he's back this weekend, I think you can very easily hold. And then number 10, Cherky. So I think Cherky's maybe more of a hold than Foden. But yeah, if you got to sell 2 of them and you want to keep Foden, then Cherky's got to go. And so, yeah, look, all the City players haven't really been doing too well recently. However, I do think you can hold them. I don't really get the rush with selling like your Hullands and your Cherkies this week. So yeah, that's sort of the top 10 there. Disagree with probably the bottom half, but agree with the top half there. Let's have a look at the most traded in. And let's go by top 1% because I'm in the top 1% and this is all that matters here. So, number 1, Bruno Fernandes is still being brought in. Completely get that trade in. Don't know why you haven't got him yet. Bring him in. Number 2, Brian Mbeumo. He's an interesting pick, and I really like it. With the news that Dorgu is out for 10 weeks, that means Cunha will probably start left wing for United, which then means Mbeumo should then play longer minutes in turn. So with United's fixtures coming up, they're pretty tasty. Fulham, Spurs, West Ham, Everton, Palace. So a nice set of 5 fixtures there, and as we've seen, United are killing it. So I like the trade, and so like for me, I think I prefer a Semenyo because, well, first of all, I traded him in last week, but also I just think City are a better attacking team. However, definitely don't knock the Mbeumo shot at all, and if I was buying this week, I probably would buy Mbeumo, just attacking the fixtures there. And yeah, look, they've got the fixtures, and if I was selling an Ekitike to Mbeumo, I do like that trade, so I can advocate for that. Number 3, Guehi. Looks like I was a week early on that. Yeah, look, I like this trade big time. He looked really good for City in defence, and I think he's the best City defender we have. And he's also just a good defender. He has that a bit of attacking threat on set pieces. We saw on the weekend there, City did target him a couple times off the corners. And so, yeah, I like the trade in there. Definitely can advocate for him as a buy-in, as a trade-in option, there. Number 4, Cucurella. As I mentioned last week, I do like him. This week, again, he's bottomed out. This is probably the cheapest you'll get him. Yeah, he's got a break-even of -3, so he's going to go up again. They've got 4 really good fixtures, 4 fixtures that you'd absolutely want to be playing him in. However, after that, toughens out a little bit. But at 4 million, you can easily just hold him for the season. So he's certainly an option. I like him as a trade-in. I do think I prefer Guehi first, just for longer-term longevity. However, for short-term fixtures, Cucurella definitely is better. So yeah, love that. Don't love the trade-in, but like the trade-in there. Number 5, Enzo. Yep, like this trade-in. As I said, with the fixtures coming up, Chelsea's next 4 are insane. You're going to want them. Enzo's also got a bit of base in there. So if we actually have a look at Enzo, if we can see his 3-week average, he's been killing it. Like 3-week average of 11, 5-week average of 14. So pretty safe and consistent. He seems to just always be in and around the attacking plays for Chelsea, and so yeah, love that as a trade-in, and someone I'm looking at captaining this week or vice captaining. Definitely an armband of sorts on him there. João Pedro, number 6. I hate this trade-in. Like, I get there's people are frustrated with other strikers, but you're going to be doing the same thing to Pedro in 2 weeks. Well, 4 weeks. They've got the 4 good fixtures. However, I've had Pedro, I think, twice or 3 times this year. I think twice, and he's just done the head in every time. He's the biggest troll, so just save your breath, save your trades. Don't even bother bringing him in. 7, Szoboszlai. Don't mind this. We saw him score a free kick and an assist on the weekend. He's on the sort of set pieces. Salah's back on pens. Number 8 option there. I think I do prefer Salah a bit more as a trade-in option. However, I think I do just prefer Brian Mbeumo as your trade-in option at strikers this week. I think he is sort of the guy to go for. But yeah, Szoboszlai can't knock. Shout out to Luke last week's commenter. Hopefully you held. He looks to be more of a buy than sell, and you're right, mate. He played really well. I've had him for a lot of the season, ended up selling. I just don't think I'm too keen on Liverpool anymore. And so yeah, I've moved off. But if you still own him, yes, absolutely hold him. And if you're looking for a midfielder this week and you've already got Bruno and Enzo, then I suspect you're probably already out of spots in midfield. But if you've got a free spot there, I don't mind the Szoboszlai pick. But I do think I would probably go Bowen over Szoboszlai at this point, especially with Bowen having the penalties. Number 8, Salah, as I mentioned there, on penalties. I don't mind him as a trade-in option, a bit more of a punt he became very frustrating for me as an owner. I brought in at about 14 million, sold him just before AFCON at about 8 million or whatever it was, and so yeah, I just don't know if I can get excited again. I got to see it, and if I start seeing Salah return and start starting every game, and Liverpool start looking good, I might change my thoughts. But at the moment, I don't have any plans or ideas to bring him in up front. Number 9, Munoz. I like this trade in. I own Munoz, but he's going to be getting cheaper. So break even at 13. Decent fixture this week against Forest, but Forest are home, so I don't know if I'll even play him this week. So yeah, not sure if I'm sold on Munoz as a trade in this week, but I think he's a trade in at any time. You can bring him in, but his price is going low and not the best fixture this week, so I think you're better off just bringing him in sort of next week and planning from there. And then number 10, Morgan Rogers. And I prefer Morgan Rogers way more than João Pedro. For the same price, Morgan Rogers, 100%. And you know what? Villa actually have a cheeky good draw for the rest of the season. Brentford, Bournemouth, Brighton, Leeds, Wolves, Chelsea, United, West Ham, Forest, Sunderland, Fulham, Spurs, Burnley, Liverpool, City. So the last two are probably about as hard as it gets for Villa there. They've obviously got Chelsea and United in between, but apart from that, that is a pretty good set of fixtures. And yeah, look, Morgan Rogers as a pick, I don't know if I'm sold on. He's been overperforming a lot this year as a pick, but I do like Villa's fixtures, and so I've kind of looked at a bit of a Matty Cash even in defence this week. But yeah, Morgan Rogers I do like as a buy. I think I would go Mbeumo over him. I think maybe I could go him over Salah. You could debate it. But yeah, João Pedro below them all. I get the fixtures are good, but I think he's just going to do your head in more than he's a good value trade in. But that wraps up the 10 most traded in and traded out players this week. Let's have a look at how I'm lining up and what I'm looking at doing this week. So I'm looking at playing Haaland obviously this week. And so we bring him in. Let's cheeky optimise. Who are Arsenal versing? So we got Arsenal against Leeds. We can definitely start Raya in that match. You'd think they keep a clean sheet here. You'd expect a bounce back, especially after a loss. However, this could be the start of, I don't know, Arsenal starting to get a bit shaky. You could call it that. But yeah, definitely start all your Arsenal defenders. So yeah, Raya, Gabriel, Timber, lock them all in as players options there. I don't know if I would captain Gabriel. You could, he's an option. I think I prefer a Declan Rice. However, there's some really good captain options here this week, and so I'm not going to have anything on the Arsenal players there. Dorgu is going to have to go, so he's going to be benched for Munoz or Guehi. The fixture's probably there for Guehi this week, so I think I'll go with him, and we'll bench Munoz there. I now also have a loop option, but I might also look at trading. But before I do my trade, if I am going to trade, let's just finish the lineup. Let's definitely bench Palmer. Bring Palmer on, and we'll bench him for Bowen. Bowen against Chelsea, so kind of hedging my bets on Chelsea there. And then Bruno and Rice. You know, I could also play a 2-5-3. I could play a 2-5-3 and yeah, line up like this. Doesn't that look interesting? And my captain is going to be Bruno, I think. Yes. There, that fixture. And then vice captain is going to be Palmer. If he plays, if he doesn't. If Palmer doesn't play, is it going to be... I'm going to have to decide between if Palmer plays, vice captain Palmer, lock that in. If he's benched or something, I got to decide between vice captain Enzo, captain Fernandez, or vice captain Fernandez, captain Haaland. That might just be the safer play. Oh, but they're on. Oh no, they're on at different times as well. Yeah, wow, that might just be the safer play. City I just don't back though. So that's probably the safe play, but I'm liking the look of Palmer VC in a Bruno C. I think Bruno is going to go off this week. So yes, that is that. No, I don't want to play Bowen. He not got lucky last week, but before last week he was doing very average. Like when he doesn't score or when he doesn't have a good fixture, 1-6-3. When he scores, obviously he hauls. So I don't think he scores this week, so I'm going to bench him there, and we'll play 3-4-3. Yeah, Bowen on the bench. Happy to play both Semenyo and Holland up top there. If one of them gets benched, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble there, but I'm pretty sure Semenyo should be starting for the future. So yeah, Semenyo is going to be my pod play. I've just backed a player in. He's been really, really good this year for Bournemouth, and just backing off eye test and backing at how he's played at City so far, I think he's going to continue it. And so I really like the double up with Holland and Semenyo, just because I think City are such an attacking team and will definitely score probably the most goals this season in the Premier League. So yeah, I think I like the double up there. And then yeah, Saka, he's been so frustrating and disappointing recently. However, it's Saka. He should be on pens. They've got the double game week potentially coming up soon in game week 26, and so yeah, definitely no thoughts of moving anyone on in the front line anytime soon. In midfield, super happy with for now. Once the 4 fixtures finished for Chelsea, I might look at moving one of Palmer and Enzo on maybe. Bowen looks like just a season-long hold now. And then in defence, we're pretty happy. It's just Dorgu who's out. And so I've got to decide here if I want to just reassess and wait. I've been avoiding Tarkowski all season. I'm not interested in him. I think he's just a bit of a safe pick. However, someone who has caught the eyes, well, there's two. There's Reece James and there's Matty Cash. Reece James because, well, it's Reece James and Chelsea's next 4 fixtures are insane. However, I'm pretty sure he played all the whole 90 this morning. Let's just double check that though. Because if he didn't, or if he did, that rules him out pretty much as an option. I'm going to see the lineups. Was it not Inter? Why can't I see the Chelsea lineup? Napoli, not Inter, sorry. Here. But I need like the sofa score. That's alright. I'm pretty sure he didn't. I'm pretty sure he did, sorry. I'm pretty sure he did play the whole 90. However, I just like him because his attacking threat is so good. Like, he's on all the set pieces. And as I said, with SuperCoach, if he's benched, you can just bench him with the team list and you can play someone else. Not like FPL where you're kind of risking it. However, the risk is early subs. And so yeah, we've seen it numerous times this season. He's been subbed just playing after 45 minutes after half time. So yeah, look, an interesting option. I found the game. I've got it up here. Cole Palmer actually came on at half. Oh no, yeah, no, came on and assisted 2 goals. So looked pretty good then, it looks like. I haven't had time to watch the whole game. I've just had time to have a look at an update on socials and sofa score and whatnot. But João Pedro killed it, hey? You got a double and a 9 score. Enzo scored again. And Reece James played the 90. So that kind of maybe rules him out, because the main reason you want to bring him in this week, for my opinion, is the next 4 games. Like, you want them against West Ham, against Wolves, against Leeds, and against Burnley. You want Reece James, you want him starting, you want him playing 90, because he could very well return, especially with the attacking threat with those very good games. However, the one I'm looking at and really considering is Matty Cash. So, Matty Cash, Aston Villa as a whole, as I mentioned with Morgan Rogers, I've got pretty good fixtures until the rest of the season, minus a couple in there. And he's also got a bit of attacking threat. So we've seen so far already this season, he's got a couple goals and assists, I believe. A couple goals, no assists, but 3 goals. And he gets a few points for all his crosses and whatnot. So he's an option I'm very interested in as well. However, as I've mentioned there with Dorgu, I don't really need to sell him this week, and I'm in no rush. So I'm probably going to hold this week. The only way I would see myself moving him on is if Reece James starts, and we've got rumours that Haaland isn't, or someone. I don't know. The only reason I would sell Dorgu this week is for Reece James probably. However, I reckon I'm just going to hold off and run this squad out. Looks pretty strong. Hopefully we keep climbing the ranks. Hopefully we break into the top 50, and then from there we all just chase after it and chase that good rank in SuperCoach. That wraps up a big video after work. I'm shattered, but we've got the video out for you guys. I've been going hard with the SuperCoach content, especially the NRL SuperCoach content on Twitter. So give it a follow on Twitter, Hooked on SC, and then on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment any of your thoughts, opinions down below. I'll either reply to it, and then I'll reply to it in the video next week for Gameweek 24 review. I'll see you guys all next week. Thanks for watching, legends. Peace.